When you join Asug, you'll never face an SAP challenge alone again. We connect our members to exclusive educational opportunities and a community of like-minded peers, so you can get the most value from your SAP investment. Get smart fast and learn from the best. Stay on the leading edge of SAP practices and get access to the latest research, insights, and unbiased editorial and interviews from industry experts and your peers. Expand your network. Asug makes up the biggest, most diverse, and most engaged SAP user group in the world. Any question or challenge you have, there's someone who's seen it before. Connect with a network of 130,000 plus SAP savvy professionals to solve complex business challenges, work smarter, and expand your SAP skills. Get set to lead. Improve your SAP expertise by collaborating with peers to solve business challenges and find innovative solutions. With 38 regional chapters, you and your teams can connect and meet with other SAP professionals and take advantage of dozens of speaking and leadership opportunities throughout the year where you can share your ideas. Become a leader in the Asug community by leading a local chapter, joining our executive exchange, and participating in one of our 13 and growing Asug Alliance groups, or make connections and learn at Asug events. Keep learning, connecting, and growing with Asug.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Use Cases and Recommended Technologies of ABAP Cloud. I'm Mary Beth Dudich, and I'm a content producer here at Asug. Just a couple of housekeeping notes before we get into our presentation. Today's webcast will be recorded, and you'll receive a post-event email with a link to the on-demand recording, along with a link to a survey. And we please ask that you take a moment to fill out that survey after the webcast, or you can fill out the survey by accessing the link in the resource box on your screen now. And if you have any questions as we're going through our presentation, please enter them in the Q&A box. So with that being said, I will hand off the webcast to Jens Wheeler from SAP. Jens, take it away.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody. Good morning or good afternoon from Germany. Let me now just try to share my screen, and so hopefully that will work. Come on. And would be great, Mary Beth, you can see my screen hopefully now in the presentation.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, awesome. So, thank you all for joining. Let's go a little bit deeper into ABAP Cloud, what it is and which are the recommended technologies we are using in ABAP Cloud. But first of all, let's take a look at the agenda. A short recap, what is ABAP Cloud for those of you who probably maybe not seen last week's presentation with Boris Gebhardt. Then we'll go a little bit about the extensibility models with ABAP Cloud, taking a short look at the architecture idea of it, and then see the technical use cases and the technology we recommend for ABAP Cloud. So what is ABAP Cloud? So ABAP Cloud is our new ABAP development model to build cloud-ready business applications, meaning we have everything put in, we have developed in the last years, and also still developing it to give you the chance to do what you have done earlier with the classical ABAP development model, just now in the cloud, or what we call cloud ready, because our cloud does not only work in the cloud, but also works on your on-premise systems, bracket open, if they have the right release. And of course, it comes in the major SAP products like BTP and in S/4HANA. And it's definitely the so-called golden path of ABAP development nowadays. So this is what we recommend from SAP. If you start something new or if you renovate your code, please follow the ABAP Cloud or use or apply ABAP Cloud. ABAP Cloud is our goal to enable you as developers or architects to build those enterprise-grade applications you have done earlier with Dynfo programming model, for example, but now in the cloud. And the focus, of course, for us here is that you can build these ABAP cloud applications with a meaningful low TCD and definitely can operate them in the cloud with a low TCO. And of course, a main goal, and you probably all know this pain from the classical and on-premise world, we need upgrade stable code, which means your code should be perfectly separated between the SAP code and, of course, your custom code. And for that, we have some ideas, which we will take a look at it, how that works, and how we have proven that also to work with the so-called Steampunk, which is our sub-BTP ABAP environment, so the cloud follow-up of the formerly known NetWeaver on-premise side. And of course, with all that ABAP cloud stuff, we want to keep what has made ABAP great. So all the qualities you know from ABAP, that it's the language to build enterprise application, especially in the ERP world, is of course the same for should and holds true for ABAP cloud. So what is ABAP cloud? No, sorry. God, sorry, it's already late in Germany. No, sorry. So our cloud here is available, as I said, in the different S4HANA editions as well on BTP. And it's the same from development model in each of these products. So meaning you have it available whether you are only on BTP ABAP environment, if you have a public edition of S4HANA Cloud, a private edition, or if you're on premise. As you can see by those little numbers here, it definitely depends on the release because ABAP Cloud is quite new. So you will get access it with beginning of 2022 release of S4HANA Cloud or on-premise systems. Or if you take a look at the public cloud release numbers, it would be 2208. Sorry for that. So for if you own one of these releases or a newer one, you can apply ABAP Cloud already. So, and of course, ABAP Cloud, as I've already stated, it's not only it was not just there. So it was an evolution we pushed forward. So basically, it started with ABAP development tools in Eclipse. Of course, some major improvements we did in the earlier decade, like ABAP unit test objects, opening up the internet for ABAP was also a good idea, which is now helpful, but was not, we do not calculate that into, or take this into account here. With 2015, the S4HANA was introduced, so we had then HANA, and we introduced the support for HANA, we introduced SAP Fiori. The cloud hype was also there then at SAP. And of course, one major thing for the cloud edition was also, and is also part of our cloud development model, is key user extensibility, meaning that you have a low code, no code, how it's called, entry point where you can make easy changes, for example, extend a field on a UI. Or do some minor logic coding. So this is done for key users, but of course can also be applied for developers in the ABAP Cloud world. Giving you just an example here, with our cloud, if you use developer extensibility to extend an S4 delivered UI like the sales order, you're gonna have a lot of work to do that through the whole stack. So you have the CES view, you have the table, you have the service definition, you have behavior definitions, actions, external services, and for every there you need to you would need to do that with developer extensibility in all the entities. With the key user extensibility, you can just take a field in the UI, and this will take care for you to do that in all the layers down to the database tag. So key user extensibility is, of course, first of all for key users, but as a developer, you should also take into account, because especially for field extensibility, it's much more easier to do that. And that's also a recommendation from our side to use the key user extensibility for field extension, because it's just more easier and fast. So 2018 came one of our beloved products, so-called Steampunk. We introduced here sub-BTP ABAP environment, and with that, of course, the ABAP cloud idea that you have a cloud-optimized ABAP language and cloud-optimized ABAP objects, which you can use and create your custom code separated from the SAP-delivered code, so that we, for example, can do upgrades without disrupting your application running in your custom code. And that's exactly what we then carried forward to the S/4HANA cloud, so-called embedded Steampunk. So the basic idea that you can do custom development in any cloud system is now there, that beside of the classical basis stack, you can do that now, of course, in a S4 cloud system, having more possibilities like accessing directly the business functionality. Because without that, it's kind of getting boring only on the technical level. So S4HANA Cloud, of course, brings you all the business-related stuff to directly access it. Yeah. And all of that together with some other ideas, I will come back, is then what we understand around ABAP Cloud. So how does that feel in reality? Let me shortly jump on it to give you an overview, and I hope you can see my ABAP development tools in Eclipse. Also important for you to know is ABAP development tools in Eclipse are the development environment to code ABAP Cloud. So it's not SE80 anymore. So definitely, if not yet done, you should get in touch with it and try it out. It's really helpful, and it can also speed up your development. So what we see here is a class I have created in a system. I think this one is a S/4HANA cloud system. And I just create a class which writes to my console. So if you want a developer and try things out, this is a pretty much good way. Let me activate that class and execute it. And as you see, you get the response, hello, Asug. So not very impressive, but at least you see still ABAP code and it runs. So let's just try something most of you probably knows, which is a pop-up to confirm. So in the Dynpo world, this was a very commonly used function module, which gives you the possibility to get a pop-up for the user, which he has to confirm yes, no, maybe, whatever. And as you can see, you get a syntax error here, meaning the user function module pop-up to confirm is not permitted. This is exactly what we understand about ABAP Cloud. So it definitely is a more or less restricted way, because in the cloud, you do not want GUI screens anymore, no stateful programming model. So you need something else which enables you to build stateless applications. And therefore, of course, GUI calls or language statements or something like that is not allowed anymore. Another important stuff is the released APIs, meaning with ABAP Cloud, we need the separation between the SAP code and your custom code to give you the guarantee that your application is completely stable and running, even if we do an upgrade of the underlying technology stack or the business application stack like S/4HANA. And therefore, there is now a implicit, a direct interface by released APIs and objects, which we guarantee as SAP will stay stable. So giving you an example, and I hope most of you know that table, which is the MARA. It's a famous table where all the products are stored from SAP. You see here the table. We can take a look at it. Yeah, okay, it's not working as I have no authorization here. Don't mind, doesn't matter. But I get a syntax error here. This means the table MARA is not permitted. See object documentation for replacement. Let's take a look. So I cannot access a table, which is one idea of the stable interfaces, because directly access to table won't give us the possibility to do any major changes or extend things. thus we have introduced a few layers, maybe you've heard of that, the virtual data model, which are basically a set of CDS views, which also much more human readable names. And if I now go to properties and the API state here, I find here successor objects of the Mara. And luckily here, this is the iProduct, for example. And this is one of the CDS views, which now has a much better human readable information and access to all the information you need accessing products. And if I do now here an FA, you will hopefully see that also here I can access the data, and see what's inside the table. But I also can now do my program here and do a select. So now I select from the iProduct, and of course I want to put out the data. And as you can see, this, didn't I execute it? Come on. Run as console application. Okay, I hope you believe me that it works. This is live, I'm sorry. Activate. Now we have the result, some hiccup. As you see, now I just get the whole data of the table. I can deselect it by using the official released API, because the Mara table is just not released. So one question is now, how do I find these? Of course, with a syntax error by the old one. Or, for example, on the other hand, there is the API Business Hub, which was nowadays renamed to Business Accelerator Hub. Luckily, the URL hasn't changed. And here, for example, under S/4HANA Cloud, you find all the released CDS views, for example, bodies, elements. Oh, come on. I hope this is not a hiccup of my internet connection. Okay, now here we go. So now you see all the released objects, which are quite a lot. And hope you also would find the iProduct CDS view, for example, with information about it. But you will also be able, for example, to find bodies, which you can implement, or, for example, business object interfaces to do CRUD operations against, for example, the sales order. Just giving you an example. So these are the new idea with ABAP Cloud. You just do not access everything like you have done in the former time. You have now a stable interface between SAP code and your code, and thus giving us the possibility to do upgrades underneath of the stack. On the other hand, you have the guarantee that your application stays stable afterwards with each upgrade. And some of you might doubt it, but I can say we did this now since 2018 with Steampunk. We're doing this now since 2 years with S/4HANA Cloud, and it's really working. So, extensibility options with ABAP Cloud. We have, of course, the side-by-side extensibility for loosely coupled applications. So if you have something which you can build next to it, side-by-side is a good idea, because you have also a separation of the system. But of course, there's also the need to do on-stack extensibility, and with ABAP Cloud, you're free to do that. So no matter that, as you have seen, I've done a select on my system. You could do, of course, also a CRUD create, update, delete operation against the sales order or the iProduct using the stable API. And that's exactly the idea. It's your choice what to do. Of course, there are some ideas, what makes sense and what makes no sense. So, for example, if you need direct access and many access of tables, side-by-side application is not the best choice if it's mass data things. So then you would go, of course, to OnStack. If you have on the other side, for example, an application which you have a complete different user group that then your S4HANA users in the system, for example, external guys need to do something, then we highly recommend you to do a side-by-side application, because you do not want to create those guys users in your S4 ERP system, which is anyway probably even more expensive than just doing this as a side-by-side solution. And thus there are different options when to do what. I also have a slide which helps you a little bit with that. Again, recapping that, what you have seen now in the system with the live demo. What you see here on the left side is S4HANA. On the right side, the ABAP environment in BTP. And as you see, we have the loosely coupled stuff here with remote APIs. But also here you're building on the public interfaces of our ABAP core stack, formerly known as the base sub-basis layer, and the ABAP layer, sorry. On the left side, of course, you have much more business functionality by adding the public interfaces directly of the S4HANA cloud stack. But the development model for both is the same, which is ABAP Cloud. And of course, for that, it includes the public APIs, as I said, the cloud-optimized ABAP language, the ABAP development tools in Eclipse, and of course, our new go-to programming model to build transactional applications, the so-called RAP, the ABAP RESTful Application Programming Model. Sorry. So, and as I have said, you can do extensions using key user tools, also somewhat easier, but of course limited in the possibility. You can do on-stack developer extensibility. There you have all the possibilities of an ABAP developer, of course, based on the public interfaces, not directly shining through. And on the other side, of course, you can do that side by side using remote APIs of the system, or of course, and we also see that by many customers, is that you can do that in a mixture mode. So of course, especially true for partner use cases, which want to operate, for example, a full software as a service solution. We highly recommend you to do that on our Steampunk, because here we have an optimized way to do that and to operate and deploy your SaaS application here. And for that, some of you might say, okay, I still need some special code which should reside in the S4HANA cloud system of the partners subscribing to that. So you can do that. So you create an adapter, which is also written in ABAP Cloud for the customer who should install or deploy that here in his S4HANA cloud system, for example, or in his private cloud system or on-premise system. And then you can use the remote access when you expose your API as a remote service and consume that here. So we also see here mixtures of models. So one of the most important one, as I stated, is the partner model, where they build simply pure applications here, or if there are not the correct APIs they need, or they are not optimized enough. So in some cases, probably some of you might know, the APIs are there, but you have to call 5, 6, 7 different APIs and loop that together then in the ABAP code, which is performance-wise on millions of data set, also sometimes not the best idea. You can do that then here with developer extensibility, do the select with joins here and expose the already pre-selected data then as one remote API call to your SaaS application on side by side. So it's not always just do it here or do it here. It's also a mixture of both, is quite common nowadays. Sorry, let me just get a sip. So, short summary of the options, as I said, user extensibility, it's definitely only for developers, it's also for business experts. They can adopt UIs, they can add fields to something, or you can create some very simple business applications here, and it's completely integrated in S4HANA Cloud. Then you have the on-stack developer extensibility here. This is a classical game for the ABAP developers, building on-stack extensibility, which, for example, directly fit for your use case and is maybe has the need to directly run in the logical unit of world in the same transaction or in the same session of your request. So thus, you can only do on-stack and not side-by-side. That should be clear. So if you have something very business critical, which should be, for example, directly committed with the main sales order class, then on-stack extensibility is the way to go through. If you are loosely coupled, have a different user group, or, for example, have such a high load of your application that you do not want to push down the normal business processes in your S/4HANA system, then it's a good idea to go side by side and do this, for example, then in the Steampunk, in the BTP environment. Good. And here, as promised, there's a little diagram. I won't explain everything here. This is something for you to read and maybe help you getting a little bit decision matrix, when to do what and how to find the right extension options. So you can go through that and find it. Of course, here also feedback is always welcome. So yeah, we have here different options, and this one is really based on customer interaction, and we have built it based on that feedback we got from the customer. And as you see here, if you want to build, for example, a partner solution, then definitely it's yes, and then we highly recommend you do that as a side-by-side application. One short excursus to the private cloud on the on-prem world, because this always comes up. As it's named ABAP Cloud, but it's of course also available in on-premise and the private cloud. And classic ABAP and ABAP Cloud coexist in these systems. So you're still liable to do classic ABAP, do Dynpro, do develop classical web GUI screens, PSP, whatever you want. This still works, of course, in private cloud and in on-premise systems. But with beginning of 2022 release, you have also the ABAP Cloud option, which then also gives you the possibility, of course, to build more upgrade stable code there, because if you follow the ABAP Cloud rules, you're enforced to use those stable APIs, and those won't, of course, also change in the on-premise world, which gives you quite a help there. And as some of you might remember, we have already also introduced something similar, a change earlier, decade ago, or I can remember, the Unicode transformation, where you can also switch your reports or programs or classes to Unicode compatibility on object level. And we have now introduced the same for the ABAP language. So there you can say, now this is ABAP for cloud, or this is classic ABAP with standard ABAP. And that's exactly what you can choose now directly in your system. And if you switch an object, for example, a class to ABAP for cloud development, it underlies the checks and you get the syntax errors, as I have showed you just some minutes ago in the Eclipse world. Just jumping back there to see. So as you see here, I'm here in a public cloud system. Of course, there I do not have the option to change that. But in general, here you would also have now that combo box you have seen to change that to classic ABAP if this would be a on-premise or a private cloud system. And then if I would change it, the select to Mara would then again work. But of course, we recommend you as much as possible, if you're already on that release, if you do new stuff or renovation, follow that ABAP Cloud rules, because it really helps you later getting your stuff much more upgrade stable. And as we know that it's not possible always to follow with everything the ABAP Cloud rules, we have introduced the 3-tier model. And tier 1 is the pure ABAP Cloud world, and this can be on-stack and side-by-side, for example, in ABAP. This means also from the very famous word, this is definitely a full clean core. So it doesn't matter if you code that ABAP Cloud on stack or if you do it side by side, both of them are clean core. But there are still some APIs which we maybe haven't released yet in the private cloud edition, for example, or in the on-premise world, or there are some things which we may be never released or where not so many activities happen, like in the HCM area. There we give you the option also to follow the model and get your code more upgrade stable, that we introduced a so-called wrapper, tier 2, where you build own wrappers based on the APIs of the SAP code and use these wrappers, then you're able to use them in your tier 1 step, which gives you the possibility to create your own interface then for accessing SAP code, which also helps you getting it more stable. And on that level, also SAP is going to give you in the future, this is upcoming this year as far as I know, also a recommendation list for APIs which are highly recommended to be used by SAP. And these one, if you use them, you will be also on the Clean Core side. But as I know, there will be also more sessions upcoming this year for that 3-tier model. It will be also a very big topic on the TechEd this year. So just as a first teaser here, if you're on private cloud on-premise, there is a possibility that you also now renovate your code and build Clean Core applications, even if you need to access not yet released APIs by SAP. As I said, renovate, and what you never should forget, of course, is code you do not need should be returned. That should be crystal clear for everybody. So, with the sake of time, let me skip that and get more or less in an architectural point of view what we do with ABAP Cloud, and then follow up to the technical use cases. So what are technologies we recommend you to use, or what we offer to you? Short, again, a terminology check. So basically, as I started, ABAP Cloud is our overall development model, which contains different qualities, reuse services, libraries, but of course also a programming model. We've already talked about one, which is a transactional programming model, which is RAP in our case. But of course, the world is not only transactional, so we also need a good way of having analytical programming model and of course integration programming model, because nowadays we always have multiple systems. So that's the way how we compose it together. So you have ABAP Cloud programming model containing a transactional aspect, an analytical aspect, and an integration aspect. But as we know, ABAP is not only about just the code, it's also about the reuse services and the libraries, which means everything which makes your life as a developer easier to build business applications, like all the compliance stuff, the logging, the number ranges, the currency conversions and currencies, everything there. That's what we understand about reuse service and libraries. Built-in qualities is more or less the classical qualities you know from the ABAP world, that you have all the important certifications, that you could build enterprise-grade applications. But of course, with the cloud nowadays, it's also about having a cloud-ready program or a cloud-ready application which you have written, which can scale, which can be high available, so this is what we guarantee you. If you build your application following the ABAP cloud rules, you get the cloud qualities. And of course, the development model would be nothing if you wouldn't have a chance to do lifecycle management, and of course, using the right development tools, in our case, the ABAP development tools in Eclipse. And now taking a look at the programming model aspects, which first of all is our transactional model, which is one of the most important pillars, of course. There, it's all about RAP. And I don't want to get in too much detail, but basically we all follow one development approach, and we're harmonizing that for all that aspect, that you are getting common to everything. So basically, underneath everything, we have SAP HANA as a database, which is the go-to database for everything in ABAP Cloud, where you can access the thing with OpenSQL or using SQL script for special things. Then, of course, you do your programming, where you do, for example, implementing your use case, specific use case. I'm the basis guy, so I'm architect in the our platform, not in the S4, so I'm happy that I know the sales order and can create one. But for example, if you're implementing the business logic for your sales order, you do, in our case, it would be here. Then you create, of course, a business object out of it. And then you want to expose all that using event service definition or OData, and you expose it for UIs or integration services. And I hope most of you have seen that already. So how does a web application look like in reality? So this was a theory with the different layers: coding, business objects, CDS, exposure. In reality, in the code, it looks like that. Of course, you have the HANA database table. And as I said, I'm not the business guy, so I really broke it down to the most basic part. So I have a key field in the data. Then on top of that, you have a CDS view where you can add annotations. For example, already for information that the UI is rendered in the way you want it to have. You have one behavior definition where you define the properties of your application, for example, create, update, delete. And then basically on top, you only define what's included. In our case, it's very easy for the service exposure. So what I want to expose as one entity model. And then I just decide as what I want to expose it. So here I can just say the same service definition can be exposed as different services. Here, the analytical aspect, in our case, for example, if you want to go for UI, you could choose OData v4, v2 as UI or Web API. The difference between UI and Web API is just with UI, the service has much more metadata than just a Web API. As you can imagine, you need more. But you can even also expose it, for example, as a SQL. So then the application server would behave like you would query it with an ODBC request, so you can select from the table. And that's the application underneath stays the same. You can choose as what you want to expose it. And of course, you can expose it with different multiple stuff. So I could build here an OData or a v2, v4, or even an ENA service on top of it. Let's now just take a look at this. And I can already do a preview on that. And this is exactly what comes out, nothing more needed. And you have a full application. Of course, no meaningful business content here. With key and content as data, you can do a create on it. And then it's already done. If I go now back, you see my content is here. I can delete it. So this comes all out out of the box. There's no need to write any coding for that. It's just with the entities I've seen. So that's the basic idea of our transactional ABAP cloud programming model, to give you the possibilities to focus on the business implication and not write any glue code for the standard create, update, delete mechanisms, etc. So we take care for that. Now, coming to, let me take a look, need to hurry up. Analytical aspect. The analytical aspect, as you see, has the same idea. It's basically also built on the same entities. It's just now that you expose it as an ENA service. And let's just head back to that. I have that prepared in another system by a colleague. Sorry for that. So here I also have just a CDS view, which does something on the sales order and stuff. And you have here also some aggregations with calculations, which you can build in, and you can simply already use that and render it. And then you already get some information out of it. For example, here the buyer, the aggregated amount paid, invoice, or here the calculations, which I do here in that calculation, already rendered here in a thing, and you can do that. Let me now just go back. I have already this, and this is a preview about one of the upcoming release. So don't mind if it's not yet in your system. So if I deploy this application now in a new release, we have something very cool for you, because this goes much further So this is based on the same view. You see the same data, and you have it directly integrated into your Fiori application with possibilities also here to do, for example, change the dimension proper measure here of the buyer, go to hierarchies, use a hierarchy which you defined for all nodes. And what you get out of it, so you find the hierarchies in CDS view, so you have already a full working hierarchy OLAP grid running in your Fiori application, which is kind of cool without any need of writing something. It just follows our approach. And you have all the possibilities here to do and configure it as you like with fields, what you show, and so on. So this is a black preview. So this grid control is coming in one of the next releases. So stay tuned for that. But this is a big achievement. And you can combine that, of course, with transactional controls, and they work pretty much cool together. Good. Much stuff. Sorry, I should have warned you to buckle up. That was that demo. And of course, integration aspects also play a major role in that, because as I said, you do not have, like in the old days, only one system or one big system doing everything. So the integration aspect is a very important aspect. And there, of course, we support every important protocol nowadays. And of course, the eventing, which plays a major role in the ABAP cloud and in our programming model. So you can easily consume and throw events out of your business objects. That's for sure. And of course, you can only throw them, you can also consume them, because this is another important channel to integrate those stuff into your application. And for that, we have introduced the so-called service consumption model, which helps you getting those things done. So, and the whole map in abstract looks then like that, and following the terminology, this is our main architecture, how we drive our cloud forward. We give you a common programming model for the different use cases and aspects you have to do with transactional, analytical, and integration aspects, but don't want to lose the classical reuse services and qualities you had with ABAP. And of course, the common lifecycle management, which still can be CTS, but we're also opening up that for the Git. But as I said, we're going to have more sessions, and we can give you more details in multiple sessions which come up. And there's already tons of material out there in our STM. Also here, if you want more information, there's directly blog referenced, and the technology reference is also available. So finally, use cases. So main use cases we have, and I always have these, and this is taken out of this technical reference. I've linked a big document which we published, I think 2 months ago, which really helps you get to understand what you should use in ABAP Cloud and what you shouldn't use. And we always have the classic developer extensibility option, which we do not recommend, but if you're on premise and want to do it, you still can use the classic ABAP for that. On the other hand, we have, of course, the developer extensibility in ABAP Cloud, and the black dot means this is fully supported with green. And we have those things, of course, partly also available in user extensibility, as you can see here, but not everything. Meaning, you can create an SAP Fiori app based on an OData service, of course, with developer extensibility, but also with key user extensibility. The same goes true for an analytical app based on ENA services. But of course, always keep in mind, key user extensibility is always limited to special aspects. If you want the full possibilities available, let's go for developer extensibility. And as I stated, the whole integration aspect plays a major role. Of course, you can create custom services for process integration with ABAP Cloud, in S/4HANA systems, in Steampunk. You can create business events, you can consume business events, you can consume services for process integration. So these are the high-level ideas which we offer to you in the ABAP Cloud. But of course, on the technical details, That's the slide I was looking for, because here I have also explained the legend. Sorry, I should have skipped that. So if you go into the details and on our architecture map, the document which is linked and which I copied here, the stuff, is always linked to our idea of our architectural map, where you find these things. For example, here we're talking now about the UI services which are available and the integration services. And then if you check the document, of course, it's possible with our cloud to create an OData service. As you have seen, you can create it with V4 or V2 as service type you need. But of course, as you have also seen on the short analytical demo, you can just expose an INA service, implement that with Fury, or for example, then consume it in an SAC client. That's possible with user extensibility. Also on user extensibility, for example, you have some limitations. For example, you cannot create an OData before service. So then, of course, creating custom UIs with SubUI 5, Fury elements based on OData services, very well, and the commonly thing for our cloud developer extensibility. What is not possible anymore is, of course, creating stuff, custom UIs with WebDym Pro, or, for example, what's possible on the other hand, creating an analytical UI with just. And here, just for reference, please read it carefully, also more for information for you, the different protocols we support in ABAP Cloud. And as you can see, we're still introducing new stuff. So for example, exposing a SOAP service is yet not possible, but we are heavily working on making this possible. RFC service can be created, yet not with classes. For that, still function modules are available, but we're also trying to get this done. As you can see here, for example, SEGW is not a technology which is available for ABAP Cloud. Therefore, we have introduced RAP to expose OData services. SEGW is not the go-to technology there. And this goes now down, for example, here for the domain-specific things. So, of course, you can create new classes. Of course, you can create custom tables. You can create HANA caches. So this should be your reference. In the meaning of time, I just skip that, explaining you all that stuff. I would highly recommend you to read that thing carefully if you want to work with ABAP Cloud, sorry for that, and take a look at our technology reference, where all of that is listed down. You see everything here, what you can do. You also get some simple information about that ABAP Cloud map, and then you see exactly what I've shown you there, with what is possible, what is available, what you can do, what is planned for the future. So one maybe important stuff which I still want to take care of, so the reuse services, we have listed all the possible reuse services and what we plan for the future in ABAP Cloud. And there you find the common stuff like the whole output management, like factory calendar, like notices, like change documents, number ranges, archive development, printing, application logs. So this is mainly all already available in ABAP Cloud to be used as a stable. And as an addition and a multiple benefit, this is targeted to be fully integrated in your RAP application. So if you create business objects, you can model mainly these services directly in your stuff and does not need to call the APIs and do the glue coding. So, and as an addition in the document, you will also find for each of these detailed use case, technical use case, documentation, videos, informations for the specific product. So in S/4HANA Cloud, in BTP environment, where you find tutorials, where are examples, where are videos, and where's it in the other keyword documentation. For every single entry, this is listed here, and you will find it just as a service for you. So this should be your technical reference for everything in our cloud. And with that, we have nearly exactly 10 minutes left. Maybe the last minute for a summary. So ABAP extensibility for us as for HANA is crucial for you, that's clear. ABAP Cloud supports key user and developer extensibility, and ABAP Cloud is really the go-to development model, so get in touch with it. It's really cool, and we put a lot of effort in it to make it the development model for the future. More reference information listed here. Take a look at it, feel free, come back to us, interact with us on the community. You're very welcome. Thank you, and now to your questions. So, which direction? Let me just check. I think Karim was already, my colleague was already very heavily answering. So we have here about this analytical feature, which will be coming in the next release. Can we use virtual elements for calculations through ABAP code in the underlying CDS view and see this analytical views dimension methods as presented? Very good question, but unfortunately not yet. But we're working on it. So in the first release, you cannot do ABAP calculations in it, but it's definitely a target that we enable that for the future. Another question, in case of a custom table, what is sub-recommendation? CVO or directly create custom table, then consume it through CDS view. Here, it's quite easy. If you want to build an application with developer extensibility, then create the custom table directly with developer extensibility, build the web model on top of it, all using developer extensibility. It's not, in that case, I wouldn't start mixing it up. No. And then I think Karin has already answered the rest of the questions. Any more questions? Please feel free. If not, then I can only say thank you very much for your time. And I think Mary Beth has some last words here.
Yes, thank you all so much. Great presentation. Thank you so much for that. Just a reminder that we will be sending you an email link with this presentation. It's going to be on demand. And also, too, as well, someone was asking about the slides, and they will be made available as well. So if you have any other questions or anything,
there's
like
one more question.
Yes.
Sorry interrupting you. Stefan, thank you. Very good question. Is development on embedded steampunk still considered keeping the core clean? As far as I see, 2020, if you're writing that release, it's a private cloud edition or an on-premise edition. And if you follow ABAP Cloud, it's fully meant as clean core. And even if you follow the 3-tier model, the tier 2 wrappers you write are also considered as clean core. So yes, using and adopting this model we presented here is fully clean core. Next question. Will there be possibilities in the next release to get read-only enabled for any field in Adapt UI? That's a good question, which I cannot answer now directly. I'll have to take that with me, and you will get the answer definitely with the material. Yeah, and Satish, I will definitely send, you will definitely get all the links to that various material. It's linked, first of all, in the PowerPoint, which will be made available to you, but also, all links are in the PowerPoint, definitely, sorry, and that will be sent to you.
And you'll also have a chance, because you did have some live demos there in the presentation, that will be in the on-demand webcast. So if folks want to take another look at that as well. But if there's no other questions, I think that'll do it. Thank you all so much for joining us and spending some time with us today. And we thank you, and hope to see you next time.
Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Bye.